Hello. We are playing another game of Magic Realm. Drew 4 new characters. Sort of an interesting crew. We got the elf, sideways. The elf. We have the magician. Love the artwork on these, by the way. Just I don't know, very nostalgic for me. Druid and the Black Knight, who is one of my favorite characters in Magic Realm. So the interesting thing about this foursome here is that there really are no good, tremendous killers. The elf has the best shot at it. For sure, he can ambush, but it's also very easy for the elf to get sort of caught up in it, right? It's an armored tremendous. I think he has like a 1 in 6 chance of killing. Then he has to roll every time to stay ambushed, stay hidden, and so in my experience, though that's great that you can do that. It also can lead you to waste many days fighting the same creature over and over and over. And then, God forbid, two creatures show up, then you're sort of stuck. So that's the foursome that we have. Um, and I enjoyed the last game that we played together quite a bit, and so I decided to try another one. Now for this one, I think we're going to try to do something different in that we're going to shorten the sessions. We're not going to do a week at a time. We're going to do X days at a time. I don't know what X is, by the way. What I'm thinking is something akin to 3-ish days at a time per video. That's going to be a little awkward toward the end of the week. But we're going to see how it goes, right? So instead of 4 videos, each of which end up being 2 hours long, you're going to have um, 10 videos, each being hopefully less than an hour. So we'll see how that goes. I don't love breaking up the weeks. It bothers me sort of in a weird way. But let's see what happens. So one of the things we're going to do though is we're going to go through the setup a little bit. And at least just talk about, set up the game a little bit and talk about what we're going to do here with these characters. So first, let's look at the map. You can see the map here. Let's look at this map. So what I always do to sort of assess a map is I look at all the valleys. Now I'm not a great map builder or anything. There are some articles and people and talking about strategies and so on. What I'm trying to get is a reasonably wide open map where people can get to most things. Generally, what I look for is I look for the valleys. So looking here at the Bad Valley, it connects to the ruins, so that's good. I consider that a decent placement. The Cursed Valley has access to the ruin and the ledges. I don't mind that. Now the problem is that you run into with these kind of placements is where you're dumping into a single hex like this one in the Bad Valley, is that if this gets gummed up and the end's here in 4, well, then you're in for a long game for some characters. So I mean, it just depends. I mean, there's any number of reasons why a map can go bad on you, and sometimes that's terrible, and sometimes it's interesting. Cursed Valley's great in that it has access to 2 hexes, though the ledges. This is the crappy way into the ledges here. But if you can make it through, then you also have access to the deep woods and borderland and so on. So I don't mind this placement. The Dark Valley here, you go straight into the borderlands or the caves. If I had a dwarf on this crew here, I would love this placement because the dwarf can just run right into the cave and play there. So that's not a bad tile, though, because you can at least get to the borderland if you need to. You can get quickly to the deep woods, quickly to the ledges. So that's pretty good. Here you see the Evil Valley. dumps into the woods down into the bottom of the cliff or the mountain. I think that's fine. And then the awful valley is a little rougher because you're going to be here, and your only options into the mountain, into the two space here, the mountain clearing here. Once you get through that, then you have access to the cliff. You have access to the caves, cavern, I should say. The only thing that I don't like is this right over here. This is the one thing that bugs me about this map is that, man, anything that's in the crag, you are stuck. Now, are you totally stuck? No, because you could end up here and then enchanting this. But that really, really requires you to be, I mean, who do we have that's going to enchant? You have potentially the elf, who's got a couple chits, and you have the druid. The magician's not able to enchant without an item. Black Knight, of course, can enchant. So he's going to try to avoid probably anything relating to the crag because it's a rough haul for him to get there. I think I'm going to go with this map simply because I like most of the valley placements, and this, though clunky, strikes me as being interesting, if that makes any sense. And there's nowhere else to put it. Like I said, I don't think. I think there's nowhere else to put the crag. If I look around the map, I think we are stuck with this crag placement. Again, I think it's interesting, so we're going to go with it. So that is the placement there. So once we accept, now notice I have all the trays closed. If you have them open when you hit this, it will put characters out randomly, which is great, but I don't want to do that, of course. Although I realize I might as well because but I wouldn't get to draw them then. So we're putting all the chips down, resume setup, and we get all the dwellings, the garrisons. We have to make sure that they're on a reachable hex. The script doesn't do that for you. And everything is. So we're done there. And so now we can open these up. So and obviously at some point if you're like, wow, this guy's just setting up tabletop simulator, you can skip this one. What I'm going to do though is we are going to pick spells and so on. So we're going to talk through that a little bit. So that might be fun. So we are going to dump the elf there. What else we got? We got the magician. Magician is one of my favorite characters. I don't do well with him, but he is one of my favorites. The druid I have found is painfully good for the questing game, but I still don't like him, if that makes any sense. So first thing we do here is just because of the way that Tabletop Simulator works, because I am only the white player 3 here, I can only touch that. So what I do is I unlock and delete everyone else's sheets. And then I'm going to grab this sheet here, unlock it, grab it, and then make it big. That's a fine size. So once we do that, we clone it and we drop it everywhere and go. That's done. Same thing here. We're going to clone this and we're going to pop it everywhere. So everybody has a touchable sheet. Last thing to do is spin this goofy thing. Oops, well, that didn't work. That totally didn't work. Let's see if we can undo that little mess. Okay, so unlock it. Grab the whole thing like that. Occasionally crap falls through the player sheet, or the player sheet falls through the floor like that, the table. And oops, and come on. And there we go. So we are effectively set up to start. And so the last thing to do is pick some spells and starting locations for us. So Elf starts at the inn. And he gets 2 spells, and they are 3 or 7s. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our objects. I have saved. So let's pull our type 3s. Let's pull our type 7s. And we're going to search. So what we have here is we have Awakened Monster. Targeted chip. Oh, geez. Okay, so we got that tooltip in the way. Summons 1 box of non-prowling monsters as though they were prowling that day. So that's actually weirdly good in the quest game in case you need to kill something. Bewilder, unable to change tactics. For the rest of the battle, that could be good. That is a fight winner in certain cases. They can say spear goblins. Or the wood folk if you want to kill them. Elven Grace sort of useless for our guy. Fairy Lights only good if we're trying to learn type 2 spells. Fleetfoot is really good. Persuade, obviously, really good, potentially. Web ain't bad. Sleep is great. So let's see, what is our strategy going to be for the elf? I don't usually take Lost or Illusion. Those are mostly PvP based. Mirror Images is sort of ridiculous. I don't even know if that's any spell that I should keep around. Roll to determine the number of images. Hits score against caster, score against the images first, destroying them. So that is a. It's not a fight winner for the elf since his attacks are random, but it is sort of a fight winner for possibly. You get 4 images, all of a sudden you can now take 5 hits. So it's a little ridiculous. All that really allows the elf to do, though, is stand in a fight. Like, normally, he's out of here anyway. He can just move L2 and get out of dodge on against almost anything. This would allow him to stand in to a fight he would normally run away. I don't know if that's worth it. Excuse me. Oh, no, I'm choking. Super professional. So the funny part is, I'm just not sure if that's worth it. It's a great spell, maybe OP actually. I'm just not sure if it's worth it for the elf. I do like Persuade. I do like Bewilder in some cases. Sleep is good, but he can just escape. So I think I'm taking Persuade. I think this is also. In fact, maybe this is the option because it's a little. This one's a little cheap too. So what it does, it transforms the magic chit into a signs chit, giving an extra search phase until a 6 is rolled on the search table. So you're trying to locate a treasure site. This might give you a couple days extra instead of just a day. So I think it's this or persuade. I think we're going to take see hit signs and we're going to see how this spell performs, because I, frankly, I almost never take it. So there you go. So we're going to delete this now, since I wanted to give him the card, but I don't actually want that card to play. Although we might have to get it again if we take persuade. But I want to take a type 7. And obviously we need 7 gold or 7 any. This is another one that is a little bit of a fight winner, in the sense that it can pull a wisp, which is a great defense. Avoid danger is useful for sure in the case where you're in, say, the pool and you want to loot the pool. I do like control bats though, man. I do love me a control bats. Since bats are one of the only thing that is just terrifying to the elf, I do like me a control bats. And then now, this is an interesting, possibly OP spell, and I'll tell you why. Now you might say, well, why? Why? It's a gray spell. It's 7 gray. Certainly OP for the, for someone that can take it, but for him, and I say maybe because what if the elf used his gold chits to enchant the valleys, and then he could walk, then he can walk the woods in the valleys with the gray magic. Still have to cast. But I think we're going to take, in this case, we have one cheesy one-off spell here to see if this, to see how good this one is. See hidden signs. So I'm going to take control bats. And like I said, for the elf, I like control bats. And I'm going to up the size of these just so people can see them and read them. So we have picked spells for the elf. All right, we have the magician. Magician's hard for spell choosing. He's going to start at the end, and he gets 3 spells, and they are of any type but white. So now, keeping in mind, so let's also wait. Hold on. Let's prepare chits for the elf here. So he is going to start with 2 gold flipped over. So that gives him 2 casts. The magician, and I like having these weirdly lined up like this, with the problem being we only have 5 of these. And I typically flip all of the magician's color chits. Oops. That is type 6 and 7. And I put his magic chits on the bottom, and then I flip everything else. So I'm looking for these spells, type 6, 7, and 8. So let's pull our trusty saved objects, type 6, type 7s, and type 8s. Let's search. I mean, dissolve is fine. I think transform is an obvious choice, since that gives you a tremendous killer. So magician now all of a sudden becomes your best tremendous killer. Summon aid is okay. It costs $1, which is a little ridiculous, but I think I wrote that spell, so it's my fault. And who's friendly, the company or the rogues? Uh, God, that depends. This spell becomes really good if you can get one of the quests that make someone friendly, and you get like the order. And then all of a sudden, it's like, hey, got this guy. And that makes the magician sort of crazy good. As it stands, I mean, the company is fine. Where's the top guy in the company? But he's a crossbowman. Crossbowman's okay, but not outstanding. And the rogues are just the top rogue. So it's not great. It's not a great magician spell, even though it's castable by him. Um, uh, transform. I don't like. He can't. I mean, he could cast Meld into Mist. So he could type 6 and he could pull Meld into Mist. Now he has to be way more sort of into it than the sorcerer because he's only going to have one of these at a time. But he could pull, you know, the same game the sorcerer plays, which is move with impunity. I don't think that's a bad choice for our guy. I think it's transform. I think it's Meld into Mist, maybe Summon Aid, but that's a luck-based choice. You are literally hoping to get some kind of friendly dude that sort of turns you into a powerhouse. So I think for the type 6s, I'm going to pull Melt out. I'm going to pull Summon Aid. I'm going to pull Magic Arrow's not terrible for him. M star star, medium heavy tremendous. So you're killing unarmored tremendous all of a sudden. Remember, we get a free alert and it doesn't harm us because we use the extra rule for the magician. So you could literally walk around with a times 0 arrow all day. I like that one all of a sudden too. I mean, don't get me wrong. So both of these have the problem is they're die roll based. Transform wins because transform you want the shitty roll. You want the 6. Magic arrow, you're probably fighting a heavy or a heavy armor or tremendous, and you're gonna want no reduction in damage at that point, which means you're rolling a 4 or less. Whereas here, you're rolling a 4, 5, or 6. The problem with transform is you then got to kill the thing that you transformed it into, and that could be an issue. So I'm going to pull these 4 spells out, and then we're going to look at the type 7s. So avoid danger is choose one row in the appearance chart, and it doesn't summon. That's great, but that's a rough pick for our guy. A blur is great, by the way, because it's essentially a get out of jail free card, right? You can run from anything on the board with blur. So that's a good one. I'll pull it out. Wisp Guide is great. Actually, the elf should have pulled Wisp Guide too. He can take Veil Walker and he can use it very, very much so because he has 7 in gray. He doesn't have to enchant. Otherwise, I mean, control bats is what it is. I don't know that I'm going to take that. I think if I took Veil Walker, I definitely wouldn't take Wisp Guide, right? It's one or the other. I think we'll take Veil Walker instead if we take one. So if you look at where the inn is, so where is the inn? The inn is here. So it's actually not super helpful all of a sudden in this placement. Veil Walker, you know what? That is sort of the only tile where that super matters would be, well, two tiles. It would matter here because you could change your path here, or here you could change your path from here to go up to the ghost without going here. You know what? I don't like Veil Walker with this board. I don't think it's necessary. So I think I'm going to delete that one or put it back in the type 7s. I think that's fine. So in that case, we don't have much in these type 7s, really. I mean, control bats, of course. Let's look at our type 8s. So remedy, of course, always useful. Dyed spider or octopus, strangely useful because it gives you dominion over the cairn in the pool. I mean, deal with goblins aren't bad. Cool thing is you can hire a gaggle of goblins, which is sort of fun. Jewel, only good in super certain conditions. Poison, great if you're willing to do the strategy, right? Adds 1 sharpness star to the target weapon or hireling. So that would be you hire some rogues, you cast poison on them when you're ready to fight. Now all of a sudden, your goofy low-level rogues are actually doing damage, right? Nudge is overpowered a little bit. Change the single result of a single die by 1. The nice thing is it can be cast ahead of time and then stored. And so the use there is to make reading runes way safer. So that's good for a spell, grabbing spells. Sparkle, okay. Rumors, sort of a more of a niche. I think this is so. We need to pick 3 out of these, pretty much. So the question is, which of these 3? I think I like Blur, and strangely enough, I think I like it slightly more than Meld. I mean, Meld in the Mist has a little bit more usefulness. But it would eat your purple chit, right? So you can't use. So using it with transform is rough, in my opinion. Keep in mind that's another thing we're trying to do, right? We're trying to maximize our chits. So let's say I use nudge. So we're going to take nudge. I'm going to take transform. Oh, because that makes nudge. So those two synergize super, super well. And then I'm going to take blur. So it's a little. It might be a cheesy. Might be a cheesy build here. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about this. But that's going to give me, so this, as long as I can get a nudge chit continuously out the door, then this transform is going to be pretty much a 3, 4, 5, or 6. So it's almost a sure thing. It's not a sure thing. Magic Realm, never a sure thing, but it's almost a sure thing. And then you have Blur to avoid pretty much everything else. So I think at that point, this guy does become like the tremendous hunter, effectively. He hires a couple Yutzes, he transforms shit into squirrels, and then kills them. So I think that's how we're gonna go. The Druid. So the Druid gets 2 spells. He gets 2 or 8. 2 or 8. So we're gonna play with the Druid, and typically I play where the Druid gets immune to curses, which we're gonna play with, and I also make the Druid's sight, his peace with nature, affect sight chit. So he is impervious to flipping chits over on the board. Talking to some comments and so on, I think we're gonna play with the Druid turns over sight chits still. I think we're gonna do that. So I think we're gonna play with the unfortunate Druid, right? He doesn't get immunity to all chits. He gets immunity to sound and hazard chits, but has to sort of live with pulling. But he has to live with pulling the sight chits. So the sights are dangerous for Druid today. But we do get 2 spells. We get type 2s and type 7. So let's pull our trusty objects again here. I can pull these off. Saved objects. Let's pull out 2s and 8s again. Yeah, 2 and 8 for the Druid. So obviously there's Stones Fly. That's a rough haul. Stone Fly. L star damage is just not a ton. And you really are hoping to doesn't hit everything. I actually don't like that spell. I used to take it all the time for various characters, and I do not anymore. Warp Wood is a super powerful killer if you fight the right things. So literally, spear goblins, bowmen, just totally devastates, right? But we're not a fighter. The Druid is not a fighter, right? We don't fight crap. So healing, we're not healing. Blend in the background, sort of useless. Man, I actually don't like type 2 spells right now. For our guy, huh? This is only useful for us. We could use it in the deep wood. Super powerful in the deep wood. Summon animals not terrible. Even at worst, so if you're hidden and you want to fight something, you can do worse than to drag this. Let's look at let's look at our type 8s here, which we just looked at. I know. Obviously, remedy, break 1 spell or curse. Now we cannot be cursed, so not as useful for us. However, keep in mind we are going to draw sight chits, so we are actually in more danger than we would normally be. So I think Guide Spider or Octopus becomes a nice choice now all of a sudden. Because it obviates that problem for at least certain of our, for the cairns and for the pool. Otherwise, I mean, rumors is vaguely so. I don't know that typically I would take rumors. but there's a certain weird, appeal to going, hey, I don't like this card all of a sudden, and I'm here in, can I draw something better? It's just in the middle of the wilderness, right? I think nudge is an obvious choice also. Um, I'm gonna drag that out and then go back and look at the twos. Can I get I think Torchbearer is a great spell. Um I tell you what, I think we're gonna do man, giving up nudge is hard. Nudge is a good obvious choice, unfortunately. And always always tell people that, when you my armchair game designing, we should try to avoid the obvious choice, right? Um nudge is a great quote unquote obvious choice, but I think I'm gonna take Torchbearer, and the reason is um because there's no one else really suited to go into the caves. So the Druid literally could own caves and caverns if you think about it. So I don't think that's a bad choice there. Now, does everyone starts at the end of this game, right? That's true? I think everybody. So we got the Black Knight. His spell is a mace. Um, so I think everybody is at the end, hidden, of course, until the start of their first turn. But everybody is at the end. Now we don't PvP anyway. The only clunky part to this start is, you have the potential of gumming this up super quick. This little channel there. So, and it's a thing. So, okay, spells are chosen. We're all at the end. The last thing to do is get cards on the board, and then we'll be done with our setup. And strangely enough, that'll be our first video. So everybody gets 3 cards. And we're looking for what can they do and what are the locations that they're going to have to deal with. In the meantime, let's get our objects out. Tables 1 and tables 2. Put them here. Lock them down just because there's no need for anything else. And other thing, let's get out our dice. 2, 3. I think that's really all we tend to need. And then make them gigantic. Probably big enough. Take the campfires, put them up here. I hate this die. I can never read it. Take a die, put it there. And then we take a pair of dice and we blow them up. So these are our canonical hide search dice right there. All right, so let's get some cards out. So we're going to deal out 3 to everybody. And I will literally do that physically, and then we will let you in on what the results of that are. I need to make actual cards. Anyone wants to buy me something ever? Give me like one of those game maker things, and we'll make a deck of cards. So let's see what we got here. 2 for everybody, and then the third card. So the elf is gift exchange. The elf has Gift Exchange, Spider Slayer, and Windfall. And boy, I hate this little chat box that's down there. Could I turn you off, this chat box? No, I don't think so. Chat settings, turn off. No. Font size. Auto hide chats. No. Okay. Well, so be it. The magician has locate the vault, rescue, and take cover, which is a free hide. The druid has consult demon, which is intriguing. Got is a free paths or passages. Oh, and he has 2 guides. Oof, okay. Which I don't know if he has to discard that. If he got 2 of the same quest, he would have to discard one immediately. I don't know about boots, strangely enough. I'm not sure. Envoy, Navigator, and Woodsman. Find small campfire. So that's what we got. Now, strangely enough, I don't think any of those are bad for these characters. So the elf gift exchange. So largely give a treasure to a group that are friends and exchange it with one of their treasures. We didn't take persuade, so that sucks a little bit because that would have been great, right? The elf is allied or friendly with the Bashkar or the Woodfolk. So the only problem with gift exchange is simply that he's got to find the Bashkar or the Woodfolk to make this happen. Bashkar and Woodfolk are going to appear at the campfires. You can find, so you got 2 woods tiles right here quickly to find, and then 3 maybe to find the campfire. That's probably his worst card. So I'm going to put that one here for a moment and think about it. Nice thing with gift exchange though is not you give a treasure up, can be anything, and you can pick one. So you might, given your luck on what your friendly natives have, you might do really well and get a nice exchange on something you really, really could need or use. But I do think that's his worst card, simply because you have to locate these. If it was someone on the board, one of the garrisons, I would keep it for sure. But since his friends are hidden, and hidden potentially somewhere he can't get to, like this guy, it's possible that they're here in the Maple Woods, and you ain't getting there, really, not without a little bit of a hassle. And his 2 spells are Control Bats and See Hidden Sun. Now, strangely enough, Control Bats could be useful for him simply because you find a bat, control it, fly it, and then all of a sudden you're the master of the crag here. We'll see how it all plays. The magician has located the vault. That's easy, but you got to find the vault. Rescue. It depends on the monsters that end up popping. He's probably going to go for the stealth option unless he can get a singular tremendous monster, in which case he's going to try to squish it like a bug. Take cover is just super useful because the free instantaneous hide allows you to walk around with impunity for many, many turns, typically. The druid got a little bit of the short end of the stick. Now, the nice thing is, if you look at where the druid is, he can quickly use the first guide to find this path. and you find it. So you actually get to check it off. You don't just use it. So you find it. So he pops right there. He could do an end around here. And the next one, unfortunately, is either in the deep woods or this guy, right? The caves. I think I would burn one of those cards super early to get the next card, to see what the next draw was. And I think that's what I'm going to keep both of those. And the reason I'm going to keep them is because I could turn them in right now and get a quest, but I have to keep the quest I draw because you're only allowed to redraw once. And I lose the value of the guide. So I'm going to keep the guide because playing the guide instantaneously, like right day one at this ruins right here, is the same as turning it in, except I get a free hidden path. So I'm going to keep those cards. The Black Knight has so Envoy is he has to do a trade with what? Two separate dudes. Let's see. Execute a trade phase with two different native groups with which you are friendly or an ally. So he has the company and the soldiers. The company can appear here. It really depends on where the soldiers are. So the soldiers are a little bit of a trek, right? You go through the ruins, through the ledges, down this secret path, and then here you are as the soldiers. Now, the funny thing is, in doing that, he can also do Navigator. I don't think his cards are bad, but they do concern me a little, simply because that Envoy's a long haul. You are literally that's what you're doing. You're walking the board early on. And you're walking the board early on. One, is he going to get Navigator doing? So 1, 2, 3. So technically, if he gets to the soldiers without doing a super long roundabout, he does get Navigator also. And there's no guarantee the company pops. That's probably his worst card. Now, the other card I'm concerned about is the woodsman. Find the small campfire, simply because of the placement of the woods. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of woodsman. So he's the first discard. So he's not going to find the small campfire. Instead, he's going to big game. So he has to pick medium, heavy, or tremendous. He is not. He's going to pick heavy. I think heavy is his jam. You know, heavy are these guys. These guys. Yeah, so I think he picks heavy. And as long as he can find the correct fight, that's definitely the way to go. So, I think that is it. I think we are set up. We've got spells. We've got quests. Oh, there's one last thing we have to do. So, sorry, I almost forgot. Nope. Objects, components, tools, note card. Not sure how these giant note cards play out, but it's a little dorky, I think, but we're going to live with it. And events. And let's get our events in. So we're going to draw 3 event cards from our deck. I had some thoughts for new event cards, by the way, so I'm going to think about those. I'm trying to, I think one of the things I want to do is, so I don't know how this plays solo, like I'm doing these playthroughs. I would like to get some event cards which possibly allow for effectively light PvP, and by that I mean PvP where you're not killing the guy and dropping him out of the game, because we don't like that much at home. Like I'm playing with the kids. I don't want to kill them and knock them out of the game. No, mind you, my kids are old now, so they can handle it. But it'd be nice to do something like, well, you can kill someone and send him to a dwelling, or you can kill someone and take whatever X money, or you score a victory point if you kill somebody, right? To allow for some of that action. So I was thinking of some PvP type scenarios, like the mission chits, which I don't play with. So, think of like maybe drawing a revolt, and the revolt is every character has to hidden and then reveal the side they're on. Are they on the side of the soldiers and the guard? Or are they on the side of the rogues and the bash cars, right? And they pick one or the other of those. And then if they pick different sides, they will score potentially a point for attacking and killing their guy, defeating their opponent. And so on. So sort of do that where you get, I get, there's a scenario where you are friends with the to something, right? Or friends with the rogues and enemies to the soldiers. So if you kill soldiers, you get a victory point. Or you can side with the soldiers, kill rogues, you get a victory point. That kind of thing. So anyway, I'm going to work on that a little bit. Also, I have the hordes cards, and I don't love them, so I'm thinking of finding a way to make those better. So anyway, I'm going to work on that. In any case, this video is creeping on an hour, so let me actually draw these damn event cards. First is Possessed Spirit. The second is the Lost Crown. And the third and the last one is the Hermit. So let's take a quick look. I'll get my MR event bag out. I do have a Spirit, so we'll pull the Spirit out. I have a Hermit, and pull the Hermit, and the Crown is just the Crown. So what do we got? Take a quick look. Crone's easy. The Hermit. First character to discover the Hermit. You can't just walk into his space. You have to discover the Hermit. The Hermit remains inexplained for the rest of the game and remove curses for a cost of 5 gold. So that's actually really good, depending on where he ends up. In games where the order is... Now, the order right now is right in a great spot for the starting characters right here. But if you all of a sudden end up over here and end up cursed, and the Hermit's like in the border or something, that is a godsend. So, pick a D10 and a D6 and roll for the Hermit, right? Random hex and clearing. So 10. Oh, I didn't save this. Darn it. That sucks. I need to save my edit of this, and I will do that here just to get those numbers on the board. So that is Ruins 5. So that sort of sucks a little bit because that puts the Hermit right there. So sort of dumb, but that's where he is. So first one is the Hermit. Second one is Lost Crown. Third one is Possessed. Not really Possessed Spirit. I'm going to call it the Possessing Spirit. How's that? So, the Spirit... Oops, sorry, I'm banging the mic. That's, again, high quality here. Random hex and clearing. So we're going to do the same thing here. He's going to end up... Don't tell me he ends up in the Ruins 5 again. The Ruins 6. Okay. You know what? The dice are the damn dice. That is the sadness, and that's prime Ameritrash right there, baby. You know what? I want the crone to be right freaking here. let's let's do this. Week 1, everybody scores 100 goddamn points, and we just call it. Um, so the spirit is cool, right? So you have to search. You have to roll 3, 2, or 1. So you have to capture the spirit with a 3, 2, or 1 on a search. Once captured, you score a victory, and the spirit becomes your follower. When you're in a clearing where a denizen is killed, you may order the spirit to possess that denizen, and it becomes your follower with its move and fight times increased by 1. So it is slower and crappier, but you do get 1. Once the denizen is killed, the spirit is freed from your service and leaves the game. And then the lost crone is simply the crone is now on the board, and someone needs to bring her back to a dwelling. Oh man, that ruined it for me. Crag 5 or Crag 4, I should say. I'm just bummed that she's not in Ruins 4 because that would just, I don't know why that would make my day, but that would have made my day. So there's our events. Everything's set up now. We are ready for day 1. Thank you if you sat through this whole thing of me largely talking to you for an hour. Then thanks for hanging out. So we're gonna start. We'll start here in a bit, and I think we're gonna try to fit in 3 days in a video if we can, and we're gonna play with the format a little bit. If 3 days still ends up being too long, like every video is an hour or an hour and a half or something, then we're gonna drop it, and we'll figure it out over time here. So, all right, thank you. Goodbye, everybody. Talk to you later.